Bedtime stories for adults. If, like me, some of your fondest memories are of being tucked in and hearing a favorite story as you drifted off to sleep, you'll love this channel. Here, you'll find gentle bedtime readings of my own books, narrated by my assistant May, in a soft, soothing voice designed to help you relax. No jarring sound effects, no sudden noises, just calm, feel good stories to ease you into sleep. If you enjoy these stories and would like to support the channel, you can also find all of my books available on Amazon. For a few days, Mom was a little uneasy around Chili, and Chili did not like that in one bit. He would not have a member of his sleuth afraid of him, so he made sure to make a royal nuisance of himself. At first, he started slow and kicked over her fresh well water buckets, and when that didn't work, he then leaned across her fresh laundry lines, dumping all her clean sheets to the ground. Still nothing, eating the apples out of the tree she was trying to pick them from. And the one I thought would get us both killed by Mom knocked over her still. That got her mad, but not mad enough. The one that got her I was not there for fully. I was out hunting. But I was told Mom was feeding her live longhorn sheep, and Chili snuck up behind her low to the ground and just at the right moment popped up behind her with his paws in the air, claws out and teeth bared, and roar! And every one of her sheep hit the ground like dominoes. See, sheep, like goats, will pass out if you startle them enough. Well, Mom had enough and squealed with shock and anger, not knowing if her sheep were dead or what. She turned, pulled out her pig sticker, and went after Chili. Now I heard the roar from where I was hunting, and immediately jumped on my battle bear and rode like the wind. I thought it was real too. I flew through that forest worried about my mom, my bear. I needed to be there now. But when I got close enough to the ranch to see what was going on, I slowed my ferried ride to a trot and decided to stay out of it. For there was Mom chasing Chili around the ranch, waving her knife at Chili, and Chili running just fast enough to keep about 6 inches between the tip of her knife and his ass, yowling to beat the band. And the profanity that came out of that little woman's mouth at Chili would have gotten any one of my guards a week in the brig. I could hear her a good 200 yards away. Anyway, it looked like Mom gave up and went in the house, and Chili, proud of himself, started yowling and stomping the ground in front of the house, but then took off like a shot when Mom came out with the blunderbuss double-barreled shotgun and chased him into the barn. I again took off like a shot, riding my battle bear hard as we leaped over the gate and headed straight for the barn. I jumped off my battle bear running and just made it outside the front door of the barn when Mom came out and said, "When he wakes up, you shoot him!" Shoved the gun against my chest and stomped off for the stables. I uncocked the gun and quickly went into the barn, and there was Chili pretending to be asleep, snoring away and gently pawing at his collar. "She's gone," I said. "Are you proud of yourself?" He opened one eye, then lifted his head and looked around. Ignoring me, he got up, walked past me, and plopped his fat down on the ground in front of the wagon, admiring himself and his collar in the reflection. "Yeah, you're a fucking star," I scolded. "And I had a fat hill grizzly in my sights when you pulled that stunt. I guess there's no supper for you tonight." And I stormed out to go check on Mom. "Hiff, hiff," I heard behind me as I left. When I got to the stables, the sheep were all up and bleeding, and Mom was sitting on a hay bale, arms and legs crossed, and kicking the air with her foot. I quietly went over and sat beside her and thought for a moment, leaned the gun on the other side of me against the hay bale, leaned forward and cupped my hands together. When I first saw Chili in real combat, not just hunting, there was 4 of us on fire watch in the middle of the northern Badlands in Kalimdor, deep in Horde country. Sergeant Daniel Parker, Corporal Luke Crow, myself, and my new friend Chili. Anyway, it was the middle of the night, and I had been sleeping when Daniel woke me up to take my watch. I got up, half asleep, and stumbled over to the entrance of our camp and watched as Daniel bedded down for the night. I was alone. It was quiet, except for everyone snoring. I leaned my back against the post, then slid my ass to the ground, and then fell asleep. Well, while I slept at my post, 20 orc regulars encircled our camp and were ready to attack. I woke to a huge orc standing over me, ready to bring his axe down on my head. I kicked his knee hard as I could, rolled out from under him onto my belly, and yelled, "Invaders!" Chili leaped right over top of me and ate that orc whole. I was right under Chili, for I'm sure were mere seconds, but it seemed like minutes. I could hear that orc's bones and armor crushing in Chili's mouth, blood spraying out in waves covering me from head to foot out from between Chili's teeth. While he chewed, another orc dropped right beside me, sliced almost clean through, with 5 slices going from his helmet to his balls. Chili leaped off me, and I scampered back to my bunk to grab my bow, turned and fired at an orc sitting on top of Luke about to bash his skull in with a warhammer, and put an arrow through that orc's head. Then notched another arrow and spun around in a circle with my bow drawn. Not one orc was left. Daniel got one. I got one. 18 orcs were killed by Chili in less than a minute and a half. The ground was pooled in blood, and orc body parts, some of them still twitching, lay scattered about the camp. Chili came walking up to me with that same face you saw the other day. I was scared, Mom. I thought he could kill me at any second, and I wouldn't even have time to know it. He started making a noise I never heard before, and the arrow in my hand, still ready to shoot, started shaking. Then he puked at my feet, a river of blood and chunks of mangled armor and flesh, and the biggest burrup you ever heard. Daniel and Luke started laughing, more happy to be alive than funny, I guess, and I put down my bow and put my arrow back in its quiver. The boys, still laughing, came over and started rubbing Chili's head and calling him a hero. But they didn't see that face, Mom. I was shaken up for a few days. The next morning, the rest of our platoon showed up, and that night Chili tried to sleep beside me. I'd move, he'd sit beside me. I'd move. Finally, he came and sat right in front of me while I was crouched in the grass taking a dump, daring me to move. He'd kick my arrows into the fire and drop my pack into the water. The one that got me was I was taking a drink in the river, and he came up behind me and held my head underwater, almost drowning me. I wanted to kill him. And I did what you did. I pulled my sword and chased him around the camp as he kept just out of the reach of my blade and yowling to beat the band. Only I tripped on a root and went face first into the dirt. With my face full of dirt, I rolled on my back angry as all get out. Chili came over, laid his paws across my chest so I couldn't move, and licked my face clean. To the amusement of half the guards, they're all laughing and cheering for Chili. That's when I got it. This was Chili's sleuth. I was his sleuth leader, and he couldn't have me afraid of him, and ever since I never have been. Mom, hear your sleuth leader. Chili can't have you afraid of him. You'd kick him out. I looked up at her with sad eyes, but then smiled. You should have run after him when he dropped your sheets on the ground, although still was really funny, I said, chuckling. Is there any left of that bear in the smokehouse? Mom asked. Just a shoulder roast, why? I asked. I think I'll take it over to Chili as a peace offering, she said as she got up and grabbed the gun to go put away. Oh, Don, and would you be a dear and go empty his water trough? I'll give him fresh after he eats, she said as she left. That was strangely easy, I thought to myself, but whatever, I'll go empty the trough and see what Chili's doing. I ran over to the barn and saw Chili just lying on his bed. Now you be good, I said. Mom's coming over to apologize. Sit up. Chili sat up on his ass on his bed, looking like a king on his throne, and I dumped his water trough. Just as Mom came in. I'm sorry for chasing you around the yard, Chili. Will you forgive me? She said, as she walked over to him. Yowl hiff hiff, agreed Chili. And here I brought you a peace offering, a nice shoulder roast, she said as she laid it down in front of him and came over to me. Thank you for emptying the trough, son, she said as Chili got off his bed and gobbled up the roast. And don't worry, son, it was raw through and through. And what do you mean by that? I asked. She started walking to the front doors of the barn. Well, the meat was raw, and so were the hot peppers I stuffed it with, she said and smiled. Aw, Mum, I said while laughing and shaking my head. I looked at Chili, and his lips were stuck out way in front of his face than his tongue. Oh, and one more thing, Chili, she said. Don't mess with Mum. And she closed and locked the barn doors. Walking away, I'm sure all she heard was Chili yowling in pain and me laughing my ass off. Bedtime stories for adults. If, like me, some of your fondest memories are of being tucked in and hearing a favorite story as you drifted off to sleep, you'll love this channel. Here, you'll find gentle bedtime readings of my own books, narrated by my assistant May, in a soft, soothing voice designed to help you relax. No jarring sound effects, no sudden noises, just calm, feel good stories to ease you into sleep. If you enjoy these stories and would like to support the channel, you can also find all of my books available on Amazon.